this is such a key area, right? And so my heart for you all is to not feel like you're going to have to say, okay, now we need to know absolutely what depression is and what bipolar is. I think the big takeaway for you all is, can you say, you know what? I know what it is, kind of, and I know that this thing called bipolar exists. There are sometimes folks can seem a little lower than normal, and maybe there are going to be some times that folks can seem a little higher than normal. You won't have to be able to go out and talk with people and do a diagnosis. That won't have to be your job. It's that you can start to observe. Now, the heart of being able to reach out to someone is not a magic formula. It really, for me, it comes out of God's Word. In Galatians 6:1, where it talks about this concept of gently restoring a brother or a sister. So the first part of that is that it needs to be gentle, right? That we are going to come alongside in a way that's loving and compassionate. And Paul's talking about how we deal with sin. We're not talking about dealing with sin, so we need to make sure our heart's right. And the restore really means I'm going to come alongside to mend. That phrase, right, the original language, is to mend the net. Can I come alongside this person, point out that, hey, listen, I see this little tear in your net, and can your heart be willing to come alongside them while they mend? So some principles. The first thing, if you're going to talk with someone about this, you need to make sure you have a relationship with the person. Relationship is more than knowing the name on their name tag. Okay? You don't now get to walk around because you've come to the workshop noticing depression and bipolar in everybody. Hey, listen, you look like, but we know those folks, right? That will come up, they don't have permission to speak into our lives. This is something that's a very personal conversation. So if you have a relationship with them, you know their ups, you know their downs, you know who they really are, that's when you get permission to start to speak in this way. The other thing is that you need to be willing to walk alongside them. No drive-by confrontations in the kingdom of Christ, okay? We don't just get to walk up and point out what's wrong, say, hey, I noticed these things, and walk away. So the real heart would be, if my friend H is going to come speak something into my life, he needs to be willing to walk me to the solution of it. So it isn't that you're just going to point out the problem. You need to be willing to, hey, listen, if that means we got to take a little time off work and I'll go over to Link Care, I'll go over to the doctor's office with you, whatever you need to do, I'm willing to come alongside you, not just speak. The third one is that you need to ask permission. You need to ask permission. Hey, may I point something out in your life that I'm noticing? And if they say no, then you need to just shame them. You shame them. You question their salvation. Turn your back on them and never speak to them again. Okay? If they,
wrong page, Paul.
right? Sorry, is that the wrong page? That's how we deal with Brent. That's my notes on how to deal. That's my notes on how to deal with Brent. And that's a whole other workshop that we're doing if anybody wants to sign up for that. They're really, you know what? If they say no, then we need to let that no be okay. Okay, again, this is about permission. And it's okay for people to say, you know what? No, I don't want anybody speaking into my life on this right now. And you still maintain relationship. You still keep that heart connection. Fourth principle is tell them you're concerned. So the statement would be, listen, if you get permission, you would say, can I be honest? I'm concerned about something. Here's what I've been observing. And then what you'll do is you'll describe externals. You won't pull out the sheet and say, you've been doing these 5 things. If it's depression, you'll say, I've got to be honest. You seem like you've been a little more down than normal. It seems like, when I watch you walking around, it just doesn't seem like you've got the same spring in your step. That's been going on for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm concerned. It's just that simple. So you'll talk about what you're seeing on the outside. Don't worry about trying to diagnose them. You point out what you have observed. And then you're going to ask them, have you noticed the same thing? Have you noticed that too? Has that been something that's been going on for you? So what we're doing is we're getting permission. We're speaking in observation, not something that they're going to have to agree with a diagnosis. And then the simple thing you're going to ask is, have you noticed the same thing? They may say yes, they may say no. If they say no, you say, okay, then I'm good with that. If the conversation keeps rolling, we're going to ask them, is there anything else going on? Is there anything else going on in your life that could be causing this? So there may be other stuff happening in their life that you don't know about that will make depression make sense. When someone's depressed, it doesn't matter what's happening in their life. So life can be going good, I will look down. I will appear down. But we all go through sorrowful periods. So if I've got a ton of stuff going on in my life, if, I guess my sad thing would be if, both my boys move out at the same time, decide to leave town, they're out of town, they move clear across the country. If I will not be depressed. I will be missing the fact that my kids are gone and I don't have my guys in the house. So that wouldn't be depression. But if you ask me the question, is there anything else going on? And I said, well, all this stuff's going on in my life. Well, that's not depression. That may be sorrow. That may be frustration. That may be fatigue. It may be other things. So we ask that question, and then we take to this place. If they say, no, there's nothing else going on in my life, then what we do is we ask them, we say, hey, listen, I'm really wondering, perhaps you're struggling with depression, or maybe some bipolar. And listen, I would love the privilege of being able to come alongside you and go over to the doctor with you, do anything that I can do because I'm concerned and I want to be there. It can be a powerful moment, right? There doesn't have to be a perfect way to come alongside somebody. We don't have to do the outside piece perfect. If you get the heart right, come alongside them. If you're noticing those things, lightly speak into their life, and then let part of our clinical team come alongside and help with some of the solutions.
Well, I'm Mary Royer, licensed marriage family therapist on staff here, probably one of the senior members. I've been here 20 plus years. Brent was my first supervisor, then Phil. And whether you recognize depression within yourself or within a colleague, we can't emphasize enough the reality of needing to get physical exercise. And sometimes it might be helpful to be the one that says, hey, let's go for a walk. And I know in our Fresno heat, we don't particularly want to walk outside right now. So let's go to the mall, or let's go somewhere, walk around our office building. Because there's an added benefit also in being out in the sunshine. It all helps lift mood. I can't emphasize that enough. And I know from personal experience, the biggest difficulty for me in the Fresno area is when it's winter and we have the fog that settles in and just stays there. We haven't really talked about that type of depression. Seasonal affective disorder, that can occur. And I have experienced that myself. So I recognize that being that friend, being invited to do that kind of exercise is great. Exercise actually is a friend to the depressed person. Being social. We do get involved socially with people with whom we work. It's often, it's understandable that that's a difficult thing sometimes for a depressed person because they want to isolate. So be that friend. I'm going to just skip right down to getting appropriate amounts of sleep. You've heard already this may sound a little bit redundant, but you can have either too much sleep or not enough sleep. That also affects mood. And it also is connected with exercise, because when you exercise regularly, sleep improves. Develop an attitude of hope for yourself or for your colleague. Engender hope, giving them a statement like, I know that this is going to get better for you. You can get better. And come alongside to encourage them for the additional help that they might need, whether it be a counselor or a doctor or the combination of the two, as you've already heard, is really the key aspect. Some specific books I really like, one called Unmasking Male Depression by Archibald and Unveiling Depression in Women, the same author. And chapter 14 in the Unmasking Male Depression is especially beneficial because it gives valuable hints of things to say or not to say to a depressed male. And that is invaluable in itself, just that particular chapter. And then Emotionally Free by Dr. Grant Mullen and Coping with Depression by Tan and Ortberg. Those are some quick thoughts.
I do want to mention, if you are wanting to or needing help or needing to connect, you can always call I'm available. We will talk with you if you have questions and you just don't know what to do in a situation. Just call us and ask for me, ask for Brent, and we're more than happy to help. But also remember, we're a very large counseling center in terms of community counseling. We have about 15 therapists and 2 pastoral counselors, so a counseling team of about 17 here now. And so any way that we can stand with you, we'd love to do that. So bless you. Thank you for coming.